we haven't gone a great distance from that 6650 mark, which a lot of experts were watching as a crucial plimsoll line, but the expert on that front is our guest at this point in time. cknarayan, Managing Director, Growth Avenues, joins in. Good morning, Mr. Narayan, and good to have you on the channel after a long gap. Well, what's the trend on the Nifty itself telling you? Is it looking like 6650 is a crucial plimsoll line? Is it looking like in the next quarter you're going to see the Nifty higher than where it is now? What is the best bet that the charts are giving you?
Well, to start with, using 6650 as the kind of fulcrum that you mentioned, it is indeed a short-term inflection point, because in the recent past, let's say the last month or two, the market has chosen to actually bounce back frequently, in fact 3 to 4 times from that very level. So it does make it, from a technical perspective, inflection point below which I think a lot of people would be inclined to look lower. But if you raise, so that's for the short term, and in the short term, if you see the market actually on the Nifty futures printed the high back in somewhere around 25th April, and ever since then we have been having a decline, and the markets have not really looked up. So in the short term, the trend is definitely down, and breaking of 6650 on the spot and 6690 on the futures is indeed to be taken a little bit seriously by short-term players. But that said, if you raise your perspective from a week or two to, let's say, a quarter ahead, then the market is clearly in the hands of very, very strong players, and the index is at new high levels and really not letting go, and the 6700 levels, so to speak, are really holding on to the market rather very well. And I think the main point here is that we don't have too much of built up long positions of a trading nature which need to be jettisoned in any panic on let's say some sort of weak outcome of the poll results. So the absence of very large positions prevents me from thinking that we'll have any big downside. Yes, there will be some sort of knee-jerk during the short term, but if you take a look across the quarter or even beyond, I remain very resolutely bullish.
So if one has already taken a positional call on the upside, Mr. Narayan, then what kind of upside momentum are you looking at? What could the targets be to watch?
Well, if you take, let's say, end of the year kind of targets, then I think 8,000 on the Nifty seems to be a fair game, because I don't think much of the market is really prepared for the upside. Most people are, willing to take profits here, probably lighten up prior to the exit poll next week, or maybe prior to the results. But I don't think substantial positions have been built for the upside. And if you really see it on the equity side, there has actually been a net outflow over the last 1 year. The mutual funds have been constant sellers over the last 1 year, the domestics. And the retail has not participated. If you see the, let's say, small cap, mid cap index, which is where really the retail markets lie, the mid cap index is about 27% off from its high of 2007-8, and the small cap index is about 32% off its high from the 2007-8 peak. So what we are really talking about here is two distinct markets. The large cap market is at 6800 new high, but where the people reside, that's at a much, much lower level. So I don't think there has been participation in the market. So I don't think there's any room for panic. You're not in a position where you have anything to unload. So, and I don't think domestics are really stocked up on stocks that they can unload. The FIs have not really bought into this market or pump money into it as much as into April as well. That they will want to unload just because the poll results are a little bit askew.
Well, they did buy a lot, starting from December at least, Dr. Narayan. But anyway, let me come to more your target of 8,000. What will be the outperformers in the Nifty if that were to happen?
Well, I think, if you look at it in terms of sectors, most of the focus is on banks. But banks have been big performer in the previous bull market. So I don't think they are going to be leaders of this bull market. They are going to be participatory in this market. I think one of the sectors which has a lot of weightage on the index and which is under-owned and largely under-patronized is oil and gas. And oil and gas is, of course, a very, let's say, policy-oriented kind of sector. But the stocks are cheap, and if you look at it, Reliance has been one of the dogs of the market. It had its peak back in 2006-07, and for the past 6-7 years it has not performed. I think at 800 rupees, Reliance has formed a very long-term bottom on your monthly, quarterly, yearly charts, and I don't believe you'll see it go down. And once Reliance start performing, ONGC performs, HPBP are in a rather well placed. So I think oil and gas as a space is something which is well weighted in the index, which is sharply underowned, where the focus once we have let's say a stable government from which policy expectations can be kept, I think that is where the thing will shift. So oil and gas would be one area where I would look at. Pharma, I think, would still continue to perform. I think the pressure on the rupee is off, so IT could perform too. So I think IT very well represented on index, pharma well represented on index, and I think oil and gas very well represented on index. These are the ones which will really outperform.
And just a couple of your mid-cap trading ideas that you could line up for us.
I think in mid-cap we should really follow where the trend has been, and if you look at it, there are some select 15-20 stocks from the larger cap, the wannabe large cap, mid-cap space. Okay. I would say stocks like Voltas and Crompton Greaves and let's say Arvind Mill, Havells, and Lupin is now sort of stepping up. I think stocks like these, Divi's Lab, these are all the ones where I would be very, very happy to put money into. They've all had fairly decent runs, but these decent runs are as benchmark to their lows from where they are looking like they have had a big run. But if you really see it in perspective of where they have been and where they are now, there is still a lot of room to go. Voltas may be up from 100 to 160, but then it's really come down from 500 to 100 rupees. So you're not really talking big moves here. I think there's a lot of room left in stocks like these on the upside.
Fair point, cknarayan. Pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right, so that's one view on the markets, fairly bullish view, 8,000.